What is going on with Filecoin? It's one of the best performing cryptocurrencies today. The question is why? Who's buying here? Who's selling here? Let's have a look at the on-chain data, the data most people are not considering. Within a few hours, Filecoin appreciated by 60%. And apparently there's no real news, just a technical breakout, anticipation for an event in 11 days, and some purchases by some heavyweights, the whales. Now there are several ways to look at prices. We can just look at the price in US dollars. The problem is that then we get the whole macro environment in that as well. As in when Bitcoin goes up, then most altcoins go up as well. But we want to know how is Filecoin doing specifically, independent of the overall macro. So instead of looking at this here, it's better to look at Filecoin relative to all other cryptocurrencies. This is the Filecoin price relative to the others' market cap. And here we get a much more clean chart. Over the last 2 years, we have been in a very constant downtrend. And currently, we might be breaking out of that trend. When zooming out a bit further, and not just looking at the last 2 years, there might still be some more upside. Potentially 42% versus the rest of the cryptocurrency market. Now, where does this long-term underperformance come from? It mainly comes from selling pressure due to token unlocks. So have a look at this. This is the circulating supply of FIL over time. Many parties do regular cash outs, so early investors and the team, and there's also mining supply that might get sold off. Now, when this is the long-term chart, that doesn't necessarily mean that we can't break out of this trend. We've actually seen something very similar for ZK Zinc, which also has an expanding supply. The trend was very constantly downwards until it wasn't. ZK Zinc temporarily appreciated by more than 200%. Filecoin is still quite far away from that. And here's ZK Zinc's circulating supply. It's also the investors and the team that's cashing out over time. And so the increasing supply of Filecoin over the long term leads to the following situation. This is the long-term price chart of Filecoin. We are now at $2.15. We used to be at $165, but compare this to the market cap chart. Here we did have our rallies every now and then. The price barely moved, but of course the market cap did have its rally. Again, the circulating supply depresses the price long term. But this also gives us an idea of how high the market cap might go. Because even though the rallies slowed down over time, we are not yet at the peak. We could potentially go to 2.5 billion. And maybe that creates another short squeeze that pushes us to 4.5, maybe 5 billion. Currently, we are at 1.5 billion. By the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, then feel free to give it a like. It will help to spread the word. It will tell the algorithm to show the video to more people. Thank you very much. So really, there's a danger of betting on falling prices of Filecoin right now. And this is a very contrarian take, and I will show you why. But let's have a look at the on-chain metrics first. We've got a ported version of FIL on the Binance Smart Chain. And over here, we've got 118,000 wallets that hold the token. On the left side, we see the number of wallets with at least 500 FIL. And so that's roughly $1,000 worth of the token. That's what I'd consider retail. In the middle, it's 5,000 FIL or $10,000. On the right, we've got the whales with $100,000 worth of the token. We can see long-term accumulation across all wallet cohorts. But again, that accumulation was not fast enough to offset the token supply expansion. Now the supply was growing extremely quickly, but going forward, relative to what's already circulating, we don't have multiple X expansions every year anymore. The supply will double over the course of the next 10 years. So that again puts question mark towards whether or not Filecoin will continue to depreciate versus the rest of the altcoin market at the same pace. Really, it's a speculative money. It's the longs versus the shorts. It's the perpetual futures that currently make up all of the price discovery. In the last 24 hours, we only saw 168 million worth of trading volume on the spot market. Compare this with almost 1 billion worth of trading volume on the perpetual futures. And have a look at the funding rate on those perps. It went massively negative. In other words, there's way more people now betting on falling prices than on rising prices of Filecoin. The market is at consensus that Filecoin should come down from here. But that's a problem. Whenever there is a consensus trade, a popular trade, most people tend to get wrecked. When the funding rates are so much negative, then we tend to see the market makers buying up the supply. So the market makers go long while the retail investor is going short, and while they are long, they're just buying on the spot market as well and then squeeze out all of those short investors. And that's the big risk of betting on falling prices. Yes, in the short term, Filecoin might be very high, but when we zoom out, there's still some more risk. And relatively speaking, the tokenomics aren't as bad anymore as they used to be. They're not great, but they don't justify that the Filecoin price depreciates by 45% every single year going forward. Open interest, so the number of bets on the price hasn't changed much. Trading volume hasn't moved much either. But again, the vast majority are currently betting on falling prices. And that's dangerous. Yes, at some point this might turn around. This is in the end market manipulation because too many people were betting on falling prices. And so the market makers manipulate the price to the upside. So of course, over time, they have to also sell the allocation again. But that's very long term. Very short term, I do believe that this short squeeze will continue for as long as there's still people that are willing to bet on falling prices. Once the funding rate normalizes again and it's back to green, so the longs have to pay the shorts, then it might make sense to bet on the long-term downward trend. But right now, I think it's too early. There's a very good chance that Filecoin will continue to go up from here. A market cap of 2.5 billion would be my minimum estimate. So it's very likely that we're going to see prices above $3 per FIL. If it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish here regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. Feel free to also check out the premium membership. This is where I share my own trades. The link is down below, thebitcointrader.com. There's also a link popping up over here. So see you next time on YouTube or see you on premium. Cheers.